Hey YouTubers, it's me, Lonnie Clark, Nuts for Art, and I want to thank you for coming to my channel. I'm making a quick video because one of my subscribers, Karen North, asked me to make a video. She sent me something this morning about Chuck Schumer taking money from Epstein, and I responded that it's all a distraction. On the heels of, actually, my reporting with the Age of Fission radio show it's one little tiny chink in the gigantic mountain of lies that the nuclear industry perpetrates every single day. I always do this. I never know where to look, if that's okay or if I should look up, because then when I look up it feels like I'm looking far away, so I'm just going to look right there. Anyways, my thought about the whole Epstein thing is that it's a distraction, because misogyny and sex abuse has been considered normal throughout history. Women, this whole thing, oh, he's going to get his dues. No, you know what? He's going to get protected again, because this guy Acosta even said it yesterday in his thing. 10 years ago, it was like, it was a different era. That's what he said. The things weren't the same. Meaning, Bill Clinton, all of the, so many elected officials, so many men are involved in the sex trade industry. And frankly, so many women. The women whose husbands do this and they know they're doing it are involved in the sex trade industry. So it's not like, oh, he has a little problem with young children or he has a problem with young girls. No, that is a woman allowing her partner to perpetrate against young women. A friend of mine, when I was 19, 20 years old, really bright student, we were both had just gotten married. In fact, my children's dad, I was like 21 or 20 years old. And this woman, Karen, I met her working in a restaurant, actually. She was really smart, really cute, and she had a sugar daddy who paid her like $6,000 a month, and his wife knew about her. Well, she was too young to make a decision like that. I could not believe she was willing to throw her life away for just money, and I know there's lots of women that do that, but all of what we're talking about with this Epstein thing is, at the time these young women, a lot of them, were perpetrated against, they blamed themselves, because you groom and pick the vulnerable girls who don't have parents, who don't have a sense of self-esteem, who don't actually understand that they can tell these rats no. They think they have to go do these things. And then they see it as a way to earn money, because they're vulnerable. They're living on the streets, most of them. So this is what makes it a crime against humanity. This is what makes it so outrageous. But when you think about it, it's all connected to the nuclear industry, to the chemical and toxic pollutions. Like, we are literally going up in arms about Epstein and Acosta right now, when this is old news. This is stuff that happened 10 years ago. What came out is that the Justice Department at the time Acosta let him off the hook actually had a 73-page report conducted by his own Justice Department indicting the guy, saying, yeah, we should indict this guy. And instead they said, no, we're not going to follow it. And they gave him a sweetheart deal and said anybody connected to this, they're not going to be prosecuted, which means any elected official. But the thing about this is, if you understand the law, all that could be overturned if we had a lawful society, which I don't believe we do. Because right now, I think that Nancy Pelosi is slow-walking impeachment on purpose. Because in the meantime, the traitor in the White House gets to have a wrecking ball to our government in every process. I mean, things take a long time when they're underfunded. These children are in these concentration camps because there's no oversight. 75% of them are run by private prisons for profit, which means our elected officials, it's outrageous, our elected officials are barred from talking to the immigrants. They're our immigrants. They're our maybe citizens one day. How dare these prisons for profit lock these people away from our elected officials? And how stupid of our elected officials to take no for an answer. They should get a court injunction on the spot. That's outrageous. This is what's outrageous about Nancy Pelosi slow walking the impeachment. All of these hearings, oh, we're going to do it in next week, in 3 weeks. We've got to put it on the agenda. If we had impeachment hearings, all of the subpoenas go to the front of the line. Everything gets answered right away. It's bull. This is just absolutely outrageous. Like, I think she's actually a Trojan horse. This is why the Democratic Congressional Caucus called me today and said, oh, do you want to give us money? Because we're going to beat Mitch McConnell and the horrible Republicans. And I'm like, no, not until there's impeachment hearings. You guys get no money from me, not one dime. I'm not giving any of you anything until we have impeachment hearings. We need to have an impeachment hearing, and if they can just censor him, that would be great. But in the meantime, impeachment hearings, you get full disclosure. None of these backroom deals where everybody gets to decide who gets protected. It's freaking outrageous. Nancy Pelosi is, I read an article that called her Little Mussolini, an opinion op-ed that said within her caucus, she's considered a little Mussolini because she like strong arms everybody into like going her way. And she is a little Mussolini, like she's a true fascist. She is the one who stopped the impeachment hearings of George Bush. She was the one who took it off the table after she saw the torture tapes and the torture photos. So she's no friend to the Democratic Party, in my view. I mean, obviously, look what she's doing. She's making impeachment a mockery. She's letting a criminal run amok, and millions of Americans continue to get misled and lied to by the worst con man in history. My sweet neighbors, my landlord believes that Donald Trump tells the truth. Even when it's proven he's telling the lie, they just kind of laugh it off. Well, he kind of has to, because he's fighting, the deep state. He is the deep state. He is upending 80 years of what little tiny bit of nuclear oversight we have at Hanford and all the Manhattan Project sites. Donald Trump and Rick Perry, who know nothing. They're college illiterates who barely got out of college. They were not A students who excelled. They were party guzzlers who got C's, who barely passed. And these are the people running our energy department and rewriting our nuclear regulations. They no longer allow the Nuclear Defense Safety Board to have oversight at Hanford, Idaho National Laboratories, none of the Manhattan Project sites. Nothing run by DOE. They're no longer allowed to go on there and look for security problems or safety problems. They're not allowed to talk to the employees without permission. Donald Trump just re-regulated 100 million gallons of highly level toxic waste into new low-level toxic waste. And on my radio show tonight, I talked about how, they've done this before up at Hanford. And there's a company in Texas they're suing right now because for 3 years, there's a city, because for 3 years they called high-level waste low-level and buried it very illegally and very unhealthfully in a place in Texas. And these people are getting sick. They're radioactively contaminated. So they're going to do it again. Like, that's the plan. They're shipping it to Texas again because it's the same landowners. It's the same. I mean, Rick Perry got $1.3 million in the early 2000s, and here it is, 2019. It's the same company taking the waste. So this is a long-term plan. This isn't just by accident. They're putting the right people in office, you guys. People have got to wise up about what is happening. There is no two parties in this country. There is one party, the Unified Democratic Fascist Republicrats Party. Now, if we had some Republicans who actually had some cojones and some level of compassion and would like the one person who actually read the report on the Republican side said, wait a minute, we got to hold impeachment hearings. This is true obstruction of justice. The other ones are all saying, oh, it's all a fake report. I mean, it is just, and Nancy Pelosi slow walking it, and all of her little minions clicking their heels saying, oh, my own congressman, Pete DeFazio, says, well, he believes it's a nuanced issue. No, it's not nuanced. It is not nuanced. This guy is breaking the law in so many ways. It's unbelievable. Just on the Jared Kushner thing, that's my top of the list most dangerous thing. Jared Kushner failed every single security agency that checked him out, said no, do not give him a security clearance. He's got a high-level security clearance. So Jerry Nadler on the Oversight Committee said to the White House, we want to see how you made this decision. Send us your documents, because you had to override it and say something in paper, which is what they had to do. And you know what Donald Trump has told them? Up yours. Like, no, not going to do it. That alone, Jerry Nadler should have arrested those people. The fact that there have been no arrests, Mnuchin should be sitting his rear end in jail while he fights not giving the tax returns to the Oversight Committee. It is a law that is on the books, and the Oversight Committee has the right to either issue financial penalties or put him in jail, or both. They've issued financial penalties, and that isn't working, forcing him to give it over. They're letting him fight it out in court. I called Nadler's office and said, that is ridiculous. You are giving a millionaire financial penalties instead of sticking him in jail for... How long do you think he would stop squealing if you put him in jail? That cat would not last 3 days. He would give up the tax returns in a heartbeat. It's so ridiculous. Americans are just so... I don't know where are your ethics? This is the thing, I just can't figure it out. It can't just be about money. And you know what? People say, oh, well, Donald Trump's turned the economy around. He also deregulated over 270 regulations. So, yeah, when these big corporations don't have to pay for safety regulations, yeah, their profits go right up. But how much does it cost us in public health and in environmental damage? Because for 2 or 3 years, while that rat is in the White House, while Nancy Pelosi refuses to call for impeachment hearings, he's doing damage as we talk every day, selling our public lands, allowing pollution all over the place. I mean, part of the tax deal was to start drilling up in the Arctic, where they never allowed him to drill up there. It was snuck into the tax code. People didn't even realize it. I mean, it is beyond comprehension the way Americans are hooked into every little bit of news, like, oh, Epstein, he's an abuser, he's going to finally get his just rewards. No, he's not. And whoever is attached to him, they're figuring out who's going to be told ratted out and who's not going to be ratted out. I mean, it is beyond comprehension. I personally saw a picture of Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, and Jeffrey Epstein. The three of them were walking towards the plane, and then there was these 2 young girls. They looked like they were 15 or 16 years old. 2 of them heading to the plane, and they were all waving to him, and they're all headed to the plane together. So I saw that, and now I looked for that when Donald Trump started running for office, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So, you know, they know what they're doing, just like... Freaking, I actually, you know who else I hold responsible is that rat. What's his name? He had the radio show, Howard Stern. Howard Stern would not let people listen to the podcasts of Donald Trump when he was on his radio show before he started running for office during the election. Because they knew if he did, you would hear the true misogynistic, filthy pig that Donald Trump is. He's not qualified to be president. He has no ethics, no values, no morals. He's just a greedy, rotten pig who's using the United States government for personal gain and power. This is Pinochet 2.0, you guys. You need to study how Pinochet came into power. He didn't stay into power for 12 years because he just had the military behind him. No. He stayed in power because he had a very compliant parliament who said that they were a democracy for 12 years while he ruled Chile with an iron thumb or iron fist, and thousands of people were disappeared. We already have hundreds of kids disappeared already in the immigration system. Kids whose parents are orphaned because of Donald Trump and his policies of mean cruelty. The point of his administration is to be as cruel as possible because he's a malignant domestic violent abuser. And you know what? I get it. America, I used to say this all the time, that America acts like a battered woman. But you know what? It's time for us to stop that syndrome and start identifying it and get out and stand up for ourselves and say we deserve better. And I think we should be calling our elected officials like I'm doing every day. And if you want to call Nancy Pelosi's office, it's 202-225-0100. That's the Speaker's office. And then you can call your own congressman. I see I'm at 15 minutes, so I'm going to end here, you guys. But this whole thing, like the nuclear contamination, the perpetual war, the selling out on both sides, it's like the Democrats are a Trojan horse. They're still feeding the banksters. This is why I'm a Bernie-crat, because Bernie's the only one who says the only way to get justice is through the 1%. And he's right. We have to challenge the industrial military complex, the industrial prison complex. We have to force these people with all the assets to help pay for our society, because they reap the greatest benefits. It's outrageous the way we treat our fellow citizens here in the United States. So put your courage feet on, you guys, and thank you, Karen North, for encouraging me to do this. I've never really talked to you. I think I've talked to you through the internet a couple times. I don't know if we talked by the phone, but it's good to have my subscribers give me input. So thank you for joining us. Please subscribe, like, and share if you like the channel. And put your courage feet on. Please take action. Remember, happiness is resistance, and love is greater than fear. Ciao.